Welcome to the Dave Whitty Show. I'm your host, Dave Whitty. Episode 14, folks. Thanks again for tuning in. Thanks everybody who's been checking out the podcast. Been having a lot of fun pumping these out. Big thanks to Brent Mack for coming on last week. We had a great chat about, all the fun events and cool things he does. One of the great young entrepreneurs in our city and our province for that matter. We had a great chat about all the cool things that he does and make sure you do get out and check out one of Brent's events when he gets them back up and swinging. Because, as a young guy in the city, he really, really works hard at putting off such great events for folks. And, you need to support those type of people. He supports local. He always has a ton of local acts on his bills and stuff. So, you can't go wrong. So make sure you do get out and check out one of Brent's events. And big thanks to Brent for coming on last week. Had a great chat with him. Got another great episode this week. Another great interview. I had Clare Follett on. If you're unfamiliar with Clare, she's a great local young singer-songwriter, bass player, producer extraordinaire. She's super, super talented, really lovely to chat to. We had a great chat for about a half an hour or so, and we chatted about her two records, the first that she released when she was 15, and the second she just released, over the, just in October of the pandemic. We chatted about a bunch of the tunes on that record. We chat her playing bass with Earle and the Reckless Hearts, and some of the production work she does. I always find it fun chatting with younger musician folks, especially nowadays. Mentally, I still think that I'm 19, but, I'm not anymore. So I'm getting a little bit older and there's a lot of young musicians and songwriters and artists, up and coming. And it's always really fun to chat with these guys and girls because they have such a different perspective on the way music is out there in the world. It's the way it's produced, the way it's engineered, written. It's a very different outlook. They grew up in the actual age of social media, and in the age of streaming. So it's always really neat to get some perspectives from the younger musicians on those interesting topics, because I know a lot of people who are, my age or a little bit older who have battled with, like the Spotifys of the world and stuff like that, just because they were probably used to making a tangible income off of hard copy CDs, off of iTunes sales, for example, so it's a different world. They all kind of seem pretty the same. I'm not going to talk too much about it. I'll let Claire obviously fill you in and tell you about that. She had a great insight on the age of social media and the age of streaming. So like you say, I always love getting that perspective out of young musicians. So make sure stick around for a great interview with Claire. It'll be coming up in a little bit. What's going on in the world of Davey? Not a whole lot, pretty straightforward. Couple great gigs last weekend. Played the Bull and Barrel Friday night. Another great audience there. Big thanks to Tino and the crew over to the Bull for having me. I always love doing that gig. Saturday I did a little fill-in gig at Kelly's Pub. Just a nice early one. Kind of sat down crowd. Everyone was having a little bite to eat and stuff. It was nice to sing a few of those traditional Newfoundland songs that I love to sing. It was a great night for that. And Sunday, obviously, I finished it off at Greensleeves, which is always always an interesting night on Sundays at Greensleeves. I'm not sure what it is, but Sundays always seem to bring out the most interesting folks. I'm not sure if they've had a large weekend or maybe just hit a little day boil too hard, but you always end up with some interesting characters on that Sunday evening slot. So another great weekend of music. I had a lot of fun. What do we got coming up this weekend? Thursday, I'm back at Golf Shots in Mount Pearl. If you haven't got out there, guys, really, really fun spot to hang out. Great spot to watch a game. They got the golf simulators out there. Really, really fun place to hang out. Obviously, I'm out there playing some tunes, but they have music Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. I'll be out there 8 o'clock on Thursday, 8 to 11. So if you're in the area or you want to come in by, hit some balls around or play a bit of ping pong or whatever you like, head on into Golf Shots. I'll be there Thursday. Friday, I have Friday I'm doing 2 gigs. Actually, I'm doing an afternoon slot filling in for the great Freddie Jorgensen at Shamrock City. 2:30 to 5:30. Come on down. Great fish and chips special at Shamrock on Fridays. And then late night I'm at Trinity Pub back at Trinity down at the other end, the corner of George Street. Always a fun little gig. You never know who you're going to get down there as well. So, if you're in the area and you're looking for some tunes Friday night, you'll know where to find me. Saturday, I'm in Baccaloo on Saturday. Baccaloo Brewing out in beautiful Bay Roberts. Great little spot out there. Always love taking that gig. Not out there very often, but when I do get the call, I always jump at it. Really, really fun spot to play. I mean, great local beer, craft beer on tap, and just a real, good vibes in there. You're right on the water there. They've recently done some renovations, so they added a bit more space. It was a smaller little room for the most part, but I heard that they've added some room out there and added a couple extra tables. So looking forward to getting out and checking out the renovations out there. So, if you're in Bay Roberts Saturday night and looking for some tunes and some great beer, head on over to Baccaloo Brewing and come see me. And of course, Sunday I'm back at Greensleeve. So another fun weekend coming up of live music. Really looking forward to hitting up a few different venues and seeing some familiar faces. Lots of stuff going on in the sports world. It looks like all the NHL playoffs are dialed in right now. I don't think the matchups are quite set, especially as I'm recording this, but for the most part, it looks like all the teams who are going to be in are in. It's really weird what's happening. It looks like the U.S. divisions are going to actually start the playoffs before the North Division actually starts or finishes their regular season. I think they just want to get it rolling. The broadcasting, ESPN, NBC, they probably don't want to miss out on a Saturday night of good hockey, so they're kind of starting that up. And next week we'll see some North Division hockey. Right now it's looking like Leafs versus Habs. I think I might do a whole breakdown on this next week. Might get somebody fun in for a chat and just kind of do some breakdown of some NHL and especially the Leafs. I mean, you guys know my undying love for the Leafs, so it's going to be an interesting first round, especially against the Habs. I mean, statistically speaking, it looks like the Habs would probably be our best chance. They're obviously not having the greatest year, a lot of injuries, banged up. But man, oh man, would I ever hate to see the Leafs lose in the first round to the Habs. I can't think of a worse team besides maybe Boston again. But I mean, we've all been down that road if you're a Leafs fan. So it's going to be really, really fun playoffs, I think. You're watching in the U.S. right now and watching sports. I mean, a lot of these stadiums are filled with people. It's such a shame that Canada is fallen so far behind. I know we're getting the ball rolling on the vaccines and stuff, but it looks like the U.S. is just so far ahead of us. They got stadiums almost full of people, and I'd be willing to bet by the second or third round of the NHL playoffs that there'll be full stadiums, no doubt. And I don't see that, obviously happening up north here. So, lots of stuff going on. I mean, ton of cases getting announced here again lately. Not really feeling that. It's kind of sketching me out. I'm hoping that it's not going to lead to any kind of lockdown again. I feel like we've all just been burned out from lockdowns, guys. I'm just, everybody's over it. I don't have any desire to be locked down again, especially, of our gloriously long summer that we get here. We might actually only get 2 or 3 solid months of decent weather. So I can't imagine if we have to lock it down for a bit of that. So, I mean, vaccines are rolling out. I mean, it's not just for the elderly right now. They're getting rotational workers in and pregnant women are eligible for the vaccine. Anyone Jesus Christ, immunocompromised, also available to get the vaccine. So, I mean, it is rolling out. It's just going a little slowly. So I think we all just got to hold tight and really buckle in for the last little long haul, last stretch and really get through this. And hopefully we can all get out. I was really thinking about getting out on the road again, really missing touring and playing outside of the province and waking up in some of them weirder places and doing some of them weird shows. It's going to be a real treat. I got to say, I really, really can't wait till that time comes. But up until then, we just got to buckle in and stay safe and really try to try to get over this thing and try to get all our people vaccinated. You know what I mean? I think obviously we're pretty lucky that we're in Newfoundland again. Not sure if it's population oriented or just, from strong will, but we've done pretty well with this. Just don't want to go back in the lockdown world. Would not be ideal. Got a really couple funny ideas for some podcasts coming up. I'm obviously having a lot of fun doing these interviews with a lot of local people, but I think I'm going to start throwing in a couple really random podcasts from week to week just to kind of spice it up and have a bit of fun. I'm thinking about doing a food review with a couple friends of mine for a laugh. I'm going to iron out some details and just try to do a couple really, really silly podcasts, funny ones where I'm going to film them and do a couple and maybe film them, either at the house here or maybe out to my cabin or something like that. It'd be a good laugh. So yeah, maybe, stick around for something that's going to be definitely a little sillier than me, prying at anybody's information. Speaking of prying in information, I'm going to flip it over to Clare Follett here now. Another great interview. I really enjoyed chatting with her. I mean, I couldn't believe how, well she speaks for being so young. I mean, she's just incredible and she really knows what she's talking about. She knows her shit. Yeah, so, with that being said, I'm going to flick it over to Clare. So make sure you do stick around for an interview with Clare Follett. And I'd like to welcome Clare Follett to the podcast. Thanks for joining me today, Clare. How you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, no, my pleasure. I've been following you for a little while. I know we've shared the stage a couple times. I know when you've been with Nick and I think we did a Christmas show. I think it was a couple of years ago. Maybe Tibbs Eve, was it? Perhaps?
Yeah, I think so. Tibbs Eve.
Yeah. So how's everything going? How you been doing? All good?
Pretty good. Yeah, I put out a record in October and I'm just kind of trying to promote it now. We're working on a music video. Just, a couple things on the go.
Just a couple. Yeah, I bet. Yeah. I was reading up on you a little bit today and, I mean, you have 2 solo records out now under Clare Follett, right?
Yeah, I do. Yeah.
And the first one was Neck Deep, which was released in 2015 or
2017.
2017. Yeah. You were 15, sorry, which is incredible. Yes. I mean, I listened to both records today, front to back. Both equally beautiful records. Really nice sound of records. I found quite a contrast in both of them. I'm assuming that you probably felt that as well.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, well, a big impact was the first record I played almost everything myself because I was 15 and I was a control freak and I didn't want anybody to hear my songs. And then on the second record, I branched out a little bit and I had a few people play on the songs with me and kind of bring their own flair. And, it just kind of led it in a different direction than my first record, which was kind of what I was used to and what I was comfortable with. So it was a little bit out of my comfort zone, but it was good.
Yeah, cool. So you did mention that, that you just put out the latest record, Reclemation, in October. But I do want to ask you a few questions about Neck Deep first, if that's all right. I mean, you're 15 years old. You wrote this record. I'm assuming you wrote all the songs on the record. And you just mentioned that you played all the instruments. I mean, that's an incredible feat, as a 15-year-old. And I mean, it's just an incredible feat to be able to do that anyways, to be able to write all those songs and to be able to, play all the instruments. Like, can you explain some of the writing processes that you had, when you were writing that first record?
Yeah. I mean, I started writing music when I was probably 11 and it was just kind of something that I did nonstop. And then when it was time to put out the record, I combed through however many songs I had. I think I had like 75 or 80 songs ready to go. Most of them were total garbage. But then I found 8 that I really liked and I produced them and put them on the record.
So you produced the record as well? Did you engineer it as well?
It engineered in quotes. I had a singular mic and I think I rented a pair of like XY pencil mics to do the acoustic guitar stuff.
Yeah.
But everything else was DI. So, not a very complex engineering job. But technically, yes, I did engineer Neck Deep.
Yeah, no, that's pretty neat. I mean, like one interesting thing, I mean, I'm a little older than you and whatever, but like one interesting thing I find, like, I had Nick Earle on as well. And I know you and Nick are close, and obviously you play in a band together, but like you guys kind of grew up in the age where recording music was very accessible to do at home, to be able to pump that out. Like, so do you find like that has been an advantage to be able to do stuff like that at home yourself?
Definitely. I mean, my mom had a computer that she used mostly for work, and I would just like steal it and sneak into the basement and record stuff into GarageBand, and that's how I got started. And I don't know if I would have gotten started if it wasn't so easy to do it with things that I already had or in my house,
Mm-hmm.
And then I went and I bought $100 USB mic, and then I stepped it up, and then over time I just kept accumulating fancier and fancier gear, and now I'm able to make semi high quality things where I wasn't always, I was just kind of getting really close into my MacBook microphone and singing, but
Yep.
yeah, it makes a difference, but it's, you can make music with anything these days.
Yeah, no, it's truly incredible. I know, like, honestly something I've only recently got into. People have always asked me, when I've been writing music, like, how did you like remember your music? I'm like, I don't know, I just remembered it. I don't know. Like, I'd never ever really jotted down ideas, and I found now that I've been doing that so much more, I'm creating so much more stuff, whether it's garbage or if it's good. I mean, it's just an abundance of material that I found that I've been recording, and it's just a helpful tool to have to be able to even jot ideas down. What would you classify the first record's genre? I have it classified. What would you classify it as?
Genre is always the hardest question for
I
me
couldn't
because
agree
I have
anymore.
no idea.
I couldn't agree
no
anymore.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, well, at the time I did a series of like all of the Mariana's Trench covers. So it just sounded like Mariana's Trench, basically. Right. So I guess that's kind of how I equate it. It's pop, but it's not like radio pop, but it's like rock, but it's not like your typical rock. So I don't know. Pop rock is, I guess, how I would say, but I have no idea.
That's about where I was at with it too. And I definitely noticed that, the first record was a little poppier definitely than the second record. The second one, to me, it has a bit more edge to it, a bit more grit. I mean, which was lovely to hear. What was up with the second record? Where did that one come from? I mean, were you planning on doing something like this, or is it just, was it COVID, or what happened there?
Honestly, I got dumped, and then I kept writing music, and it just kept happening. And I was like, I hope no one ever hears this. But then I was like, oh, some of it's really good. So then I kind of got myself together over quarantine, and I started recording it, and now it's out.
And the writing process involved with Reclemation, was it a lot to do with heartbreak, or was it some of your past experiences? Because I've always found, as a songwriter, I mean, heartbreak sometimes is the best medicine for a songwriter. It makes for the best. You really want to pour your emotions out, and like you just mentioned, you don't even know if you want anybody to hear it, but it's just such a great outlet. Was that some of the inspiration behind it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, some of it was just me having a hard day and then sitting down and writing it. Some of it was kind of workshopping old songs with new eyes and new experiences in my life. It's all very different, and you're totally right about the heartbreak thing. Like, I find, like, whenever I'm in a good place in my life, I stop writing. I can't write anything.
I know, it sucks. It's so difficult. I agree. Yeah, no, you're totally right. And like I mentioned, I was combing through the both records today, and I definitely noticed, kind of a pop rock flair to the first one. And in the second one, it starts off, with this sunless intro. It's like 55 seconds, just instrumental. And then it kicks into The Guy I Once Knew. And one of the first lines in the song is, I love you, but I hate your guts. Seems you don't give a fuck about us. Like, that's one of the first lines of the whole record, vocally. I mean, damn, dude, that's an incredible line to just, to start it out. It really sets the tone for the record, which I thought was pretty neat, because, it showed the different side of it right off the bat. And to me, exactly where you wanted to go with it. I mean, really, really neat stuff. I loved a lot of the songs on the record. One of my favorite was I Can't Have You. It was really like nice kind of slow start. But to me, it had one of the best vocal performances on the record. I really, really, really enjoyed that one.
Thanks.
And one thing I noticed as well about a lot of the songs, a lot of the songs, they kind of build into these like big, beautiful, full sounding tracks, full of synths and harmonies. It's just really, really, really nice and tasteful, really, really nice music, I got to say.
Thanks.
Did you have any co-writers on with you with any of this stuff? Or I know you mentioned you had some people working with you in the studio. Can you talk about some of those people who kind of helped you do this record?
Yeah, I wrote all of it myself, like from the bare bones kind of writing. But the first thing we did, of course, was drums. So we got Dan George to do drums, and I've always worked with, up to that point, I had always worked with just the Logic automatic drummer. And I always thought,
Kyle.
yeah, Kyle. And I was like, Kyle's great. Kyle does a great job every time. I never have to worry about it. But then I finally got real drum sounds on my music for the first time. And I was like, oh my God, I don't know how I ever managed without this. And, he brought a lot to the project, not only with, the literal, just the sounds of the real drums, but, sometimes he'd go, we should cut out here, or we should, change this little ending bit. And, me being a producer who's like super protective over my songs, I'm always like, can we just record it my way first so we can just like have it in case? But I always went with what he said to do. So he's super creative. He's really great to work with. And then who else did we get? We got Nick Earle to do some guitar stuff. So that's also really great. He recorded that all remotely. I wasn't there. And then he just sent me the tracks, and they were totally different from what I had in the demos and what I was expecting. So I freaked out for a second, of course, but then I settled in and I realized it was way better than what I had. So that was good. And we got Kirsten, Ron, and Clark to do some backing vocals on a couple of the tunes.
You have a Quote the Raven shirt on right now, actually.
I do actually have a Quote the Raven shirt on. I love Quote the Raven. And then I had Andrew Rogers from Fairgale do some backing vocals as well. And they're really great. It's always really nice to have backing vocals that aren't me. It just gives it such a nice, like, warm tone. And they're so great to work with. And yeah, it was just, everybody brought so much of the project.
And not to mention that, yeah, I know exactly the feeling. It sounds so different, obviously, and adds such a different element when somebody else sings harmonies for you. I mean, especially when you have like Kirsten and Andrew, like they're powerhouses. Like, it's incredible. Like, I mean, I've done some gigs with Andrew over the years, and I'm just like, you sing this one, man, I'm good. Like, I ain't getting there, they're really, and they're just great people too. So, I mean, I've always found it's been nice to I think we're kind of similar in the way that I'm super protective over my songs, and I always have this idea about how they should sound. And I'm pretty stuck in my ways like that. Like, I'm like, oh, no, okay, this needs to sound like this. And then somebody brings something else to it. And I found that over the years of just working with different musicians that they bring different elements. And a lot of times, most times, actually, it's for the better. You know what I mean? Especially if you're working with the right people. You mentioned, Nick and Dan, and I know you're a part of the Reckless Hearts. I know you guys just had released a record. What's kind of happening with that? And can you talk about that record as well? And I know you had some touring plans and stuff. So, what's kind of been happening with that?
Yeah, we last year, like pre-COVID, we poured our hearts into that record, and we worked super, super hard on it. We spent so much time. And it was perfect. And the release happened on April 24th. And as you know, COVID shut everything down in the beginning of March. So we didn't even get to do a release show. And we had, I had planned to, not work over the summer so I could go on tour. And we had lots of stuff booked, and it all just didn't happen. So, we all had to kind of figure out what we were going to do. So I did my solo stuff. Nick's gigging like 25 times a week. Yeah. Dan's, working as a drummer with a few different people. So, we kind of had to improvise there, but we're hoping to get back on the go soon.
And are you involved in any like the songwriting process with Reckless Hearts, or is that mostly Nick and you're kind of just the bass player and side musician?
Yeah, I'm just the bass player. I show up, I play the bass, and it's a good time.
No, that's awesome. And I know you do a little bit of side work. Is that something you like doing? You like being a side musician? Is what's the differences between kind of doing that as as opposed to your solo stuff?
Yeah, it's totally different. I find, I've also, to be honest, I find it so much easier pushing work that doesn't have my face attached to it. Just being on social media and be like, look at Nick. I'm kind of associated, but like, look at Nick instead of being like, hi, I have an album out. I worked really hard on it. It's it's totally different. It's nice to kind of take a step back sometimes on some of the projects I work on. But,
Yeah.
I still love my solo stuff. It's just nice to be able to do both.
Yeah, of course. I mean, it definitely just, kind of gives a different creative outlet. I mean, you don't feel as pressured. I've kind of done that in the past myself. You don't, like you say, you don't feel like it's your face. You don't feel as pressured, and you can kind of just relax. And I mean, I hate to say it, but probably enjoy the gig maybe a little bit more. 'Cause you
Yeah.
don't feel so pressured. I know you're currently enrolled in Memorial University. You are currently enrolled in Memorial University's conjoint Bachelor of Music and Bachelor of Business Administration program with a focus on double bass. That seems pretty unique to me. I mean, what was the thought process going into that? You've always been playing bass? I know you're a guitar player and a songwriter, but what was the idea behind going in and doing bass?
Yeah, I wanted to go to university. It's always been pretty important to me to get some sort of post-secondary education. And I love doing music. It was always just kind of a question of not whether I was going to music school, but what I was going to play in music school. And I figured at MUN, the MUN program is like super, super classical, and I'm like not a classical singer at all. I would probably fail out of that voice program so fast. But I started playing bass in the Reckless Hearts, and I was playing bass in my high school jazz band. And I really, really loved it. And I decided to, learn to play classical double bass because it's very much not the same, but it's like a little bit the same. It's a bit transferable. So
The tuning is the same.
yes.
How far are you into the program right now, and how's it been going? Have you been off because of COVID, or like how's that been working out? I mean, it's got to be interesting to do a music program like from home.
Yeah. I just finished my second year. So this entire year we have been completely online. I've been doing all of my classes from my basement. Actually, that's a lot. We were in the building for roughly like 3 weeks at the beginning of this semester, and then we had another outbreak, so we had to shut down again. But yeah, all of my profs have been like super understanding, and it's been great because everybody was having a hard time, and it was I need an extension because I can't get out of bed today, and everybody was like, I understand. So that's been good. But it's definitely different learning online than it is in person, even in lessons, because my mic, no matter how good of a mic I have, it's never going to pick up all the nuances of the sound. So that's been an issue for everyone. But, we're working through it, hoping to be back in the fall.
Yeah, that definitely makes it challenging. I mean, it's not just kind of like remote learning where you're, I don't know, learning history. I mean, it sounds, which is a difficult thing to, transpire through to class or to your profs, or that's definitely challenging. I mean, what was the idea behind the business administration side of it? Was it just you just wanted to learn and be focused more on business as well, kind of with the music?
Well, it was a brand new program. Like
Hmm.
I'm the first class to go through it. So I just said, why not? It's probably nice because, let's be real, music degree, not super useful in a lot of different areas unless I want to be like an orchestral musician or something like that, which is just not really super my career path. But if I get a business degree, I can use that for so many other things. And in the conjoint, I get to do the business stuff, and I can still play music at the same time. And business has also been very helpful for the business side of being a musician, which has been good. And I'm
How have
glad
you?
I've done it.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant. Honestly, it's very very smart. How have you found that the business side of music? Like, I mean, you grew up, you're a songwriter. You've put out a couple records. Obviously, you must be starting to see the different elements of the music industry in regards to business, in regards to money, touring. Like, has that been a learning curve for you?
For sure. On Neck Deep, I put out the record and that was it. I didn't do any marketing. I didn't try to book any shows. I was just like, people will come to me. And then they didn't. And I was like, well, I guess that didn't work. So, on Reclamation, I signed with Citadel House. They've been super, super helpful. They're able to, not only guide me in the right direction to the people that I need to network with and make connections with, but also they're really helpful in getting the funding that I need to do all of those things. So that's been good. It's still difficult and it's still something that I don't fully understand, but I'm better than 15-year-old me who thought I could just put out an album and have people magically listen to it.
Yeah, and I think it all comes down to uh with every new project, or with every new song, you're always trying to make yourself better. And I think anything that you can learn throughout the years, and especially with the business side of it, you can pick up. And it's obviously nice, with the Citadel House, that the help that they've provided, and just pointing you in the right direction, maybe not telling you what to do, but just some little guidance and stuff. One thing I did want to ask you about, Claire, was the funding. I noticed that Reclamation was factor funded. Am I right in saying that?
It is, yeah.
Yeah. So how is that? Can you kind of explain factor funding to maybe people who are listening at home who probably don't understand what that is, and how it helped you put out that record?
Yeah, so factor funding, it's government funding. You generally have to apply for it. And I think I'm not super clear on how it works, to be completely honest. But you apply for it, and then hopefully they can give you a pot of money. I think how it works is that they normally give 50% of your budget, but this year they got some sort of raise and were able to provide 75% of the budget, which is really quite fantastic. But what happened for me is that Citadel House has a certain status with Factor. So Factor gives them money, and then they can allocate it to all of their artists
Hmm.
however they see fit.
Yeah, no, that's pretty neat, and what a help to have, especially. I mean, in the year we're having, where nobody's really kind of working, nobody's gigging. I mean, it's just kind of the wells ran dry. So, I mean, that's got to be a huge help. I noticed you've been nominated for 5 Music and Elle Awards throughout your career. You won one, and you were also nominated as a 20, or no, so you were the 2018 East Coast Music Awards Breakout Artist of the Year.
I was in the breakout program. I wasn't quite that cool yet, but
Oh, okay, okay. Sorry, I
yeah,
must
no,
have read
that's
that
okay.
wrong. Can you talk about a little bit about like what Music and L and like ECMAs and stuff like that, like kind of means to a young person in their early on career, and especially with the last record. And I know you did a Music and L showcase as well. I think you had Nick and Dan and Andrew perform with you. I know it was virtual and stuff, but what kind of that experience is like for like a young musician.
I think Music NL does really, really, really important work for the industry and ECMA as well. Um, in terms of funding, in terms of networking, in terms of the opportunities, especially this year, they've done as much as they can to provide everything to their members for either free or really, really cheap. Um, that's been, there's such a help. I know if I email them at any day, they will get back to me and have some sort of answer, even if it's a we don't know yet, but then they'll let me know as soon as they know. They're super on top of stuff, and I think as a young artist, it's really important to get involved with that, especially because of the directory. You can go to a Music NL event and meet pretty much every musician in the province, which is really important, especially when you're young and starting out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. You nailed it. And they've been a great help to myself over the years. I mean, realistically, the reason I started this podcast is because of the help that Music and L gave me. I mean, they gave me a grant early on in during COVID, and I pretty much used it all towards acquiring enough stuff to put this podcast together. So yeah, big shout out to Music and L, no doubt. What's the plans for the future, Claire? What's going to happen? Do you have any idea? Or I know it's hard to kind of prepare and plan, but have you got any plans? I know you probably want to get out and push a bit, I guess.
Yeah, I've got a couple gigs that I'm lining up and trying to line up over the next few months for my solo stuff, and I'm side musician for a couple people. I'm trying to get some work as a producer as well. If anyone listening is looking for a producer, please let me know. I would love to produce your music. Yeah, just kind of trying to figure stuff out, trying to be a solo musician in a time that's very weird, and I don't know if I can still be a solo musician in like 2 weeks' time. It can all turn around so fast. So, we're just kind of rolling with it right now.
I hear you. I hear you. Another one thing I wanted to ask you as well. You mentioned producing. Is that something that you really want to get involved with? Like, I mean, I've started to produce a little bit of my own stuff. It's something I really enjoy, and I would love, people giving me tracks and trying to kind of arrange them a bit and stuff like that. Is that something you really enjoy doing? If somebody was to give you their own music?
Yeah, I love producing. It's definitely one of my favorite things in the whole world to do. I just finished producing a record for Rosemary Lawton that's coming out May 30th, I believe. So that was really great. I love working with artists and kind of trying to collaborate and get inside their brain and then kind of get the ideas that are in their brain out into my computer and then into their ears. It's really fun, and just working with different genres and stuff. Love it.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that would be a little bit of a different genre for you, Rosemary, because obviously Rosemary she's a fiddle player and she's a songwriter as well. But was that a different feel for you to kind of tackle a project like that?
Definitely. I mean, she was trying to go in a little bit more of a pop direction than her previous stuff. And I guess she figured I would probably be a good choice for that if she wants to go like a little bit pop, but like not really, because that's kind of what I do. So yeah, I kind of took my own style and combined it with her style, and we've meshed it together, and we've created a mesh, I guess, of styles. But yeah, no, it's really fun. I really like working on it.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. I'm looking forward to checking that out. That'll be a little bit fun to listen to for sure. Claire, anybody who's listening at home, how can they find you? Where can they find your? Oh, one thing I wanted to say to you too. I was looking at you have 500,000 streams on This Love.
I do, yeah.
That is insane. Like, I mean, congratulations,
Thank you.
That's super, super incredible. Like, how did that come about? Did you have any press on that? Did you put out was there a video? Was it in something? Or, I mean, not to say that it's a beautiful song. Do not get me wrong. I listen to it a couple times a day, but it seems like 500,000 just out of nowhere is incredible.
Yeah, no, that doesn't happen with no help. We ran some playlist promotion because we had money in the budget to tour, and then we're like, well, we can't really tour, so let's allocate it somewhere else. So we did lots of playlist promotion. It got on a couple playlists, like super random playlists, like High School Musical soundtrack. I'm like, I don't know why it's on that, but it has like 30,000 streams from it. So like, I'm not complaining. That's totally fine. So yeah, it's just been getting on some playlists. People have been saving it, and it's all over the world, which is really, really cool. So that's good.
Yeah. While we're on that topic, there was something I asked Nick as well. Like, how do you feel about streaming services? Like, people like, how am I going to put this? Let me just ask you, how do you feel about streaming services? What do you think they like? How are they for you? I mean, is it beneficial? Is it negative? Or,
I mean, I use Apple Music because it's super convenient, and I'm not trying to tell anybody that they shouldn't use their streaming platforms, because I totally understand. It saves so much money, so much time. You can access anything from anywhere in the whole world. it's a really great way to find new music, and if you're an artist, to get your music found. However, I would also like to get paid money sometimes. So, I understand. I also use it, but, also nobody buys CDs now. So,
Yeah, it's like a weird,
like,
it's a
what
really
am I supposed to
weird,
do?
I know, it's such a weird place in the putting out music world, because it's such like, like when I put out my first record, I've told this a bunch of times on this podcast, but when I first put out my first record, it was before Spotify, before Apple Music, but I mean, iTunes was present, and people still use CDs. I mean, which was not as much, but like cars still had CD players. I mean, you buy a new vehicle now, it doesn't have a CD player in it, but like at that time, people still had CD players in their vehicles. And it was really great because I was, selling CDs, but a lot of people were also buying the record for $10 on iTunes. So, I mean, you were getting cut checks pretty frequently. And then, the streaming services came along, and you nailed it. It's super convenient on both sides of it. I think it's super convenient because, as a listener, like you say, I listened to both your albums today. I listened to both your albums. It was easy to find. I typed in your name, boom, I found them. You never made much money off me today listening to your albums is the problem. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's what makes it tough. But, as a performer and as an artist, as a songwriter, you nailed it again because, well, look at this love. I mean, you got it curated on some playlists and boom, you have 500,000 views on that. So, I think the mentality of it is great. I'm in the same boat as you. And I wish that, the payouts were a little bit higher. I mean, if just to, kind of let people, especially in this kind of time, like it's been tough, obviously with COVID and, with all the nature of that. I mean, so it would have been nice to definitely, make a few extra shillings, I think, off per play. Claire, anybody who's at home and wants to check out your records or check you out or want to book you to produce their record, how are they going to find you?
You can find me on Instagram and Twitter. I'm at Clare Follett. My name has no I, Clare, and then Follett has 2 L's and 2 T's. Everybody spells it wrong. I always like to clarify, because everyone also makes that joke. My Facebook is facebook.com/Clare Follett Music. My website is clarefollettmusic.com. I also have a merch store on there. I've got shirts, hoodies, hats, masks, CDs, vinyl,
I want to get a shirt
stuff
off you if that's okay. I'm going to buy a shirt off
definitely.
you. Yeah, that'd be great.
That'd be awesome. Thank you.
I checked out your merch today. It looks great.
Thanks.
Yeah, thanks, Claire. I really appreciate you taking the time. I know I got you on a little short notice today, but you were grateful enough to jump on and take some time for me. So thank you so much, and I look forward to chatting with you soon. Good luck with everything.
Thanks for having me. Thanks.
All right, we'll chat soon.
Yeah, bye.
Big thanks to Claire for coming on there. So great to see the insight and hear what these younger musicians have to say about the streaming world. And I thought that was very interesting. Really, really neat talking about, Claire, how she has to do a bunch of online learning for her program and how interesting that must be as doing a music degree basically from home. I mean, that's got to be a very interesting way to go about that. I thought that was really, really neat. And I can't honestly recommend you checking out her music anymore. Very, very new approach to music. I mean, you hear a lot of things in Newfoundland. You hear a lot of the folk music, and you hear a lot of obviously rock music and there's pop music, don't get me wrong, but to hear a young female voice like that really, really, kind of pour her heart out and write those songs, just absolutely incredible. I mean, she plays with some of the most talented people in the city, so it goes without being said that she is also phenomenal. So yeah, big thanks to Clare Follett for coming on and taking the time to have a chat with me. I gotta say, I really enjoyed that one. Other than that, guys, not much going on in my world. Gonna take it easy this week. I'm gonna hit the links here on Thursday, heading out to the wilds. I'm not sure if you've been out golfing at all. Courses are in pretty good shape right now. It's a pretty good time to get out. It's not super expensive, and it's just a great way to get out, enjoy some fresh air, and obviously golf being the most socially distanced thing you could possibly do. So really looking forward to getting out this week. That about does it for me, guys. Please, if you are, interested in following along here on my podcast, like and subscribe on YouTube or Spotify. You can find me always on social media at Dave Whitty. If you want to shoot me an email, feel free to let me know what you're thinking of the podcast. I always love having a chat with people. You can find me info@davewhitty.com. If anybody wants to pick up to these podcasts or streaming the radio, by all means, feel free to shoot me a message. I was chatting with a couple guys earlier on in these podcasts, and I couldn't quite track down the email. So if you want to reach out and hit me up again, and put these on the radio, I mean, that'd be awesome. And if you want to sponsor me too, also looking for that. You guys know the routine. It kind of is what it is, but having a lot of fun again. So. Thanks again for everybody, guys, who's been tuning in. I really enjoy my few hours putting these together every week, and I'll be back again next week with who knows. Could be a food review, could be a music review. You never know what's going to happen here on the Dave Whitty Show. So with that being said, guys, from downtown St. John's, Newfoundland, my name is Dave Whitty. Peace.